Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom.
Hey, it's our News Watch, and we've got a couple of news stories here. One is going to be very interesting, of course, for our listeners who love to play video games. Gamers against government censorship. If you censor something, you decide what can be seen or used or listened to. We've been seeing a lot of censorship lately that kind of disturbs me. I'm from America and we like freedom, but even in America, we were seeing lots of people trying to tell us how to live and what to do. So we've got some gamers who are not really very happy with the government right now. What's the other one?
The other news story we're talking about is an advance in vaccine delivery technology. So, yeah, we want the vaccines out there to handle different kinds of diseases and stuff like that. But sometimes it's difficult to get the vaccines to people because they need to be chilled and stuff like that. So now we have a new way of delivering vaccines. We'll talk about that in just a second. So let's get to it, everybody. Let's read the entire contents of today's lesson, and then we'll come back to discuss it.
Gamers against government censorship. On March 12th, Reporters Without Borders marked the 12th World Day Against Cyber Censorship by opening a library. This library is unique in a few respects. For one, it is concerned with collecting articles that have been banned by governments around the world. For another, it was established within a video game, the wildly popular Minecraft. The library and its grounds were built with the cooperation of 24 gamers from around the world. It took them around 250 hours to construct the elegant, classical building, which is nestled among intricate gardens on an in-game island. The uncensored library currently contains articles by reporters from Egypt, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Vietnam. All of the featured journalists have been silenced in their own countries, whether through pressure and exile or direct violence and murder. By browsing the library, Minecraft players in countries where freedom of the press is threatened can get information that their governments are trying to suppress. The Uncensored Library plans to expand and continue supporting a free press around the world.
Exciting advances in vaccine delivery technology. Most people despise getting vaccines because of needles. Recent developments in a University of Texas lab promise an alternative, though. Rather than being poked with sharp metal, people will soon have a more comfortable option. Dr. Maria Croyle says her research team was inspired by candy. They devised a formulation with sugars and salts to create a thin film that can safely hold the vaccine until it's needed. When that time comes, a healthcare professional can simply remove the protective wrapping and put the vaccine in the patient's mouth. But what's to be done with the packaging? Fortunately, there's very little of it, and it can just be disposed of in the regular trash. The same cannot be said for current vaccines that often come in single-use syringes. Not only are there multiple layers of packaging, but the needle also qualifies as hazardous waste. A further benefit of film vaccines is their stability. They can be transported and stored at room temperature, which is a great help to poorer countries where electricity for refrigerating medicines is not always dependable.
Okay, guys, we're first going to look at the news story that says gamers against government censorship. Again, censorship is when usually it's people that have authority over you. It could be a government. We usually don't use censorship if we're talking about our parents, but in this case, we're talking about government. So a censorship is when you officially look at something. It could be books, it could be news stories, could be movies, anything like that. And they're examined and found to have some material in them that is unacceptable. And so that particular authority, usually a government, either bans them or suppresses them. If you suppress something, you don't let it out. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about how some of these countries are using games to kind of hide some of the suppressed stories or bits of news that they want everyone to get their hands on. So censorship. To censor is the verb. Censorship, of course, is the noun.
Of course, they have censorship in China and North Korea and other countries around the world. And censorship, of course, was quite common in Nazi Germany and other places like that. You know all about that. And gamers are doing something about that. Gamers, of course, are people who go online and play these different video games. And let's talk about what this is all about here. So on March 12th, which was a couple of months ago, Reporters Without Borders marked the 12th World Day Against Cyber Censorship by opening a library. So this happened back in March, and we've got some kind of organization called Reporters Without Borders. I think there's also an organization called Doctors Without Borders or something like that. Basically, people who work all over the world, and they're united. Well, they marked or celebrated, I guess you could say, or recognized the 12th World Day Against Cyber Censorship, and they marked this holiday, or they recognized it, by opening a library. That makes sense. Libraries have lots of information. Hopefully the information is not censored. I guess you can't let everybody read anything they want. You can't have plans for a nuclear bomb or something. At some point you do have to limit information. But for the most part, you should have a free press, as Taiwan does here. So in this particular case, though, they opened a library, but I don't think it's an actual brick and mortar library.
No, it's not. When we say brick and mortar, it just means a real building has been built. For example, Amazon isn't a brick and mortar shop. You know, they've got warehouses where they store, the items that they put online for sale, but you can't walk into an Amazon store and just buy something off the shelf. Brick and mortar, yeah. We're going a lot more these days to online everything. So this library is unique. Why is it special? Well, it's special in a few respects, or special in a few ways. So first, it's concerned with collecting articles, or newspaper articles, that is, that have been banned by governments around the world. To be concerned with. Notice you have to use the be verb, guys. I'm concerned that Sally is sick. You don't necessarily have to use the preposition with, but here we're using to be concerned with something. So what is the something? These articles that have been banned. If you ban something, you no longer let people have access to it. So, for example, well, I could say this. Cigarettes are banned from restaurants here, right? You can't smoke in restaurants anymore. Now, that's one ban that I actually approve of. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. But say, for example, you're in North Korea and you write an article that says, Kim Jong-un's haircut is really bad. He needs to go to a new hair salon. Well, he's not going to like that, so that article is going to be banned.
You might be killed for that in North Korea.
Yes,
so
indeed. You might be tortured. Your whole family will be wiped out because of that. So you got to, that's serious, too. That could actually happen.
He likes his haircut.
We're not joking, but in any case here, various articles around the world have been banned by governments, so they're going to be collected in this library. Again, it's a cyber library. And for another, remember we said for one, it's concerned with collecting articles, and for another, or for the second thing, it was established within a video game, the wildly popular Minecraft. Now, I know my daughter used to play this many years ago. I don't know if it still exists.
Oh, it does. Yes.
It does. Okay. Well, all the characters and all the structures inside are kind of squarish looking or something. So it's quite popular, and I guess it's still really popular. And this library was established inside this video game.
Yeah. My nephews had me play it. One in particular. Video games just aren't for me, guys. Sorry, but I know Minecraft now. The library and its grounds were built with the cooperation of 24 gamers from around the world. Oh, so there was a pretty big group of gamers that got together. Now, if you talk about the grounds of something, guys, usually we talk about the grounds of a university, the campus grounds. Here, it just means the area that surrounds that. Of course, it's a video game. So if they're talking about grounds in a video game, they're not talking about a piece of land with perhaps some nice grass and trees. They're probably talking about an area that kind of looks like that in Minecraft. And if you build something with the cooperation of other people, you're working together to achieve some sort of goal. You cooperate with them. I know here in Taiwan, you guys love to translate this phrase, to cooperate with someone. But we don't necessarily have to use that word. You could just say, yeah, we work closely with other company to produce this product. You don't have to say, we cooperated with them. Try not to use cooperate repeatedly in the same article or maybe a research paper. Try to use different verbs. You don't always have to say cooperate when you 合作.
Yep, you can work together. You can have
Team
a common cause.
Yeah.
Various things. There are different ways to say it. So in this particular case, though, the word cooperation is a noun. So these 24 gamers are working together, and they're from various places around the world. Now, it took them around 250 hours to construct the elegant classical building, which is nestled among intricate gardens on an in-game island. Interesting. There's all sorts of prepositions there, on an in-game island. Try to say that 10 times with your hands tied behind your back. But in any case here, yes, it's an elegant building, just like some buildings in Rome are. And, of course, it's got nice grounds there with gardens and statues and trees and stuff like that. So, indeed, it's probably pretty cool.
The Uncensored Library currently contains articles from people. These are reporters from Egypt, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Vietnam. All of these countries will censor their journalists. So all of the featured journalists or reporters have been silenced, meaning they can't speak or write the way they would if they had total freedom. Whether through pressure, they might pressure them, their families, or the companies they work for, or exile. Exile means someone has been turned out of their own country. They've just said you can no longer live here, and they're exiles because they have to go and live in another country. They're not safe in their own countries. Or some of these journalists or reporters are actually beaten up. Sadly enough, they're killed too. So by browsing the library, to browse just means to look through, right? You can browse at a department store. You don't have to buy anything. You can just browse for a while or browse the new books that are out in a bookstore. So they're browsing. These Minecraft players in countries where freedom of the press is threatened, they can actually get the information that their governments are trying to suppress. If you suppress something, you make it very difficult to get to. Sometimes we're in class and we want to laugh. Well, you should suppress your laughter. You should hold it back. Suppress also means to forcibly put an end to something, but you can also use it in a nicer way, just to suppress your desire to eat chocolate all the time.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this is something they're working on. I don't think we should talk about it, though, because governments listen to these things. They're going to find out their articles in Minecraft. So be careful, guys. But that's a little bit about the Uncensored Library. They're going to continue to expand it, and hopefully that will support the free press around the world. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to talk about article number 2, which is about vaccine deliveries.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 现在中文讲解时事新闻第一篇，标题：游戏玩家要来对抗审查制度 ，censorship 就是审查。文章一开始提到无国界记者借由开设图书馆来纪念反对网络审查日。第二句，这图书馆很特别，在几方面。生字 respect 除了表尊敬，也可以当作方面来解释。In every respect 就是在各方面。另外也有几个用字来表示方面，例如说 in terms of 或者是 in the way of。冒号后面呢 for one 有 for another 这是转折于搭配使用，表示一方面怎么样， 另一方面又怎么样？ For one 后面说他关注收集被禁止的文章，动词片语 is concerned with 表示关于关注，后面加受词，在这句话中是 collecting articles 收集文章，动名词当作受词。For another 另一方面，它是建立在 Minecraft 游戏中。接着第5句的后半说这优雅古典的建筑，接着呢 which is nestled 坐落在错综复杂的花园，动词 nestle 使安顿下来依偎，字母 T 不发音，这里当成被动表示被安置在，也可以用 snuggle snuggle 或者是 dwell dwell 采被动形式来取代，都有安顿坐落的意思。这间不被审查的图书馆目前有来自埃及等国的记者的文章。第2段第2句的主词 All of the featured journalists 所有当中的记者， feature 原意是特色或者是以什么为特征，用 PP 形态当形容词修饰后面的 journalist， 表示这些记者很显著，暗示为异议分子。而 have been silenced 使安静，使沉默，这里写成被动，呼应压迫审查的制度。后面接着无论是被压迫、流放或者是暴力，相较于 refugee refugee 难民， exile 多为被放逐，尽管可能是被迫或者是自愿。第3句，借由浏览，玩家可以获得被封锁的讯息。 browse 动词浏览，网络浏览资讯 to browse the web。 句子中间有一个 where 引导的关系子句来形容先行词 countries， where 相当于 in which， 表示在这些国家中新闻自由是被威胁的。 press 当新闻界不可数，通常写成 the press， 例如总统要对媒体发表演说， The president will speak to the press。 最后一个生字 suppress 是镇压，禁止出版，例如 The government suppressed his book， 政府禁止他的书出版。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's time for us to continue talking about our news stories. The next one is about vaccines. So we've got some exciting advances in vaccine delivery, at least delivery technology, okay? So a vaccine, of course, is a shot that you get so that you don't get sick from a particular disease. Now, most people despise getting vaccines because of needles. I'm not so afraid of that because I give blood samples all the time at the hospital. So some people, though, are kind of scared of those needles. So, yes, they despise getting vaccines. If you despise something, you really hate something.
Yeah, that's a really good word. And if you get tired of saying hate, oh, I hate him, like, you know, you do when you're in high school sometimes, you could despise. I despise that. My dad despises needles. He's a big chicken, which means he's scared when it comes to needles. But he had to spend some time in the hospital with pneumonia, and he had to get over it. But all of his kids, of course, laughed at him. So recent developments at the University of Texas lab, it's a laboratory. They're, of course, testing things. They promise an alternative. Remember alternative? It's a different option, a different choice. So rather than... it could be substituted with
instead
of this, or instead of being poked with a sharp metal, people will soon have a more comfortable option. I don't love needles, but growing up, I had 2 years every day except the weekend. I had to have a shot for my allergies, so I had to get over it so they don't bother me anymore.
Sometimes they use those shotguns or something.
Oh, I don't like those.
Yeah, sometimes they hurt, sometimes you don't feel a thing, but in this particular case, you're not going to have to be poked with sharp metal. Dr. Maria Croyle says her research team was inspired by candy. So this is a person working on the new technology, Dr. Maria Croyle. and she's the head of this team, and she says that they were inspired by candy. Yeah, if you can get your vaccine or take your medicine via candy, then you're probably not going to be scared of it. And they devised a formulation with sugars and salts to create a thin film that can safely hold the vaccine until it's needed. So they devised this formulation. Here we've got the verb to devise. That means you kind of invent something, you come up with some kind of device or some kind of plan or some kind of mechanism that performs a certain function. So they devised this formulation, which is basically a chemical formula that has different kinds of sugars and different kinds of salts. Sugar, there are different kinds, so here it's countable, and salt as well. There are different kinds of salt compounds, and that will create a thin film around the vaccine. A thin film is just kind of a sticky layer on the outside that will hold something in place until you break it.
Oh, cool. So we use recipe if we're making a dish of food. We use formula or formulation if we're doing something scientific. So when the time comes, for that vaccine to be given to that person, the healthcare professional, probably a nurse or a doctor, can simply remove the protective wrapping and put the vaccine in the patient's mouth. Now, if it's a kid, they're going to like this a lot more because it sounds like it's kind of tasty. It's got sugar and salt in it. But what's to be done with the packaging? The packaging, of course, is the outside of whatever you're buying. Of course, Japan is very famous for their lovely packaging. I've been shocked at some of the packaging I've seen from Japan. They waste a lot of money and paper on that stuff. So anyway, fortunately, this is the good news. There's very little of it. It can just be disposed of in the regular trash. We're trying to cut down on waste. We're running out of places to put our garbage. So that's good. The same cannot be said for current vaccines that often come in single-use syringes. A syringe is that thing that we're given vaccines with. It's got a needle on the end, and then the medicine is in that little plastic see-through tube that you see. That's a syringe.
And it's got a plunger in there as well, so that's what a syringe is. And not only are there multiple layers of packaging, but the needle also qualifies as hazardous waste. So yeah, you've got this vaccine, and they come in single-use syringes, and they've got multiple layers of packaging, not just one layer, but two, maybe three, to protect it from contamination and stuff like that. And then the needle will be considered hazardous after it goes into your arm. You might have some germs or stuff like that get on the needle, so it's contaminated, it's dirty now, so it becomes hazardous and needs to be disposed of in a special way. And that's very wasteful here. We're saying it qualifies as hazardous waste. To qualify means it fits all the standards or the qualifications. If you're trying to apply to a university, you need to qualify. You need to have a certain grade point average, certain kinds of extracurricular activities in order to qualify for admission to a university.
Yeah, they have problems with these syringes and needles that are left behind by drug addicts, especially in cities like San Francisco. So you got to be careful. Little kids don't know. They'll try to pick up that needle. If it sticks them, they might get some sort of disease from it. So it is hazardous. A further benefit, something else that's really good about the film vaccines is their stability. If something's stable, it doesn't change very easily. It stays pretty consistent. So they can be transported and stored at room temperature. That's a really good benefit. Just means you won't have to have a refrigerated truck or refrigerated plane if you're sending these vaccines to other countries. They can be stored at room temperature. Now, this is also a great help to poorer countries. A lot of those countries that need vaccines don't have access to a lot of electricity, as you know. So how would we keep that vaccine cold? It's almost impossible.
It's possible to use a refrigerated truck, but in some poor countries, they don't have paved roads.
Yeah.
So it could take several days to drive to the places that need these vaccines. So this is nice here because they can be used at room temperature, so they don't need refrigeration. And again, we're talking about electricity for refrigeration. It may not always be dependable or available.
Available, yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
疫苗从出厂到施打的过程本来是浪费，容易变质，现在有了长足的进步。标题 advances 进步进展，后面加 in 再加名词，表示在哪方面有些进步。第一段第二句，动词 promise 承诺加受词 an alternative 替代。Promise 常暗示预计将来会变得很好，例如说 The peach trees promise a rich crop this year. 今年桃子丰收在望。第三句，比起被刺，人们会有一个更舒适的选择。句首 rather than 在这里当作介系词，表示而不是，相当于 instead of 后面加名词。Rather than 如果当对等连接词，表示是什么而不是什么，其后连接相同词性的字词。若放在句首，那么动词的单复数要视 rather 前面的名词而定。例如说 Molly rather than I wants to go on a trip to Spain. Molly 想去西班牙度假，而不是我。接着说，他们设计一种配方，可以安全保存疫苗的薄膜，然后放入患者的口中。第二段，包装材料如何处理呢？第二句 Fortunately, there's very little of it. Very little 非常少，当不定数量代名词，后面 of 加名词，这里是 it 代替前面的 packaging。那 of 后面的名词才是主词，由它决定搭配动词的单复数。这里是 it 单数，所以动词用 is。其他类似 some, much 或 most 也可以当作不定数量代名词，放在 very little 的位置，来表示数量的多寡。第三句 The same cannot be said... 相当于 This is not the case， 或者说 It is a different matter， 表示说这是不一样的，这是两回事，要表达跟目前的疫苗一次性的针筒是完全不同。第四句Not only are there... but the needle... 其中不仅有多层的包装，针头也被归类为危险废弃物。Not 是否定副词，若放在句首承接一个子句，这个句子呢要写成倒装，在这里将 be 动词 are 搬到 there 前面，再接真正的主词 multiple layers of a packaging， 后面的 but 加子句，顺序不用变。动词词组 qualify as 加名词，取得资格当成的意思。而最大的好处是它的稳定性，可以室温运输和储存。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it, guys. That's our News Watch. We hope you learned a little bit more about what's happening in the world. I love news. It's good to keep on top of what's going on around you and around the world. We hope you'll join us next time for our News Watch. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
See ya.